Hi everyone, welcome back. Archmage's Fariston here, and in this video I'd like to do a little guide for the economy in Stellaris and how to earn energy credits. As you can see, I'm earning 275 credits at this point, and I have 20,000 stocked up. I have a fair amount of minerals, getting 216 per month, and food we have just enough. Consumer goods 46, alloys plus 46, overall pretty good. So if we look at the galactic map, my Commonwealth of Man is about a medium-sized empire. It's certainly not the biggest. And the first thing I'd like to show you is basically trade. As you can see here, I'm earning 416.9 energy credits per month from trade. So let's get into it. If we click on our main station and then click on trade routes, you'll see 255. 144 is from these trade routes. You can see these blue moving lines, and 110 is collected from nearby systems. You'll notice that here this white skull basically means that there's no piracy. You can see it's 0.0 piracy, whereas here you can see a red skull. So basically it means that we don't have a fleet and we don't have any effects from the nearby stations to completely eliminate piracy. If we click on some of the other stations, you can choose which station to send the trade. So we have here Stenlar with 46 trade, and it's sending it all the way to Deneb. If we come over to some of our other stations, you'll see Chara is sending the trade to Acrox, and Acrox is sending it to Ayundis. And here you can see only 48% of the trade is actually reaching its destination. Ideally, what you should do is get a fleet, and using the patrol button here, which you can see, park the fleet at the beginning of the trade route and then click this patrol button and send it to the destination, and the fleet will patrol automatically along this route and it will eliminate the piracy, driving up your money. Now, another factor of the economy in Stellaris comes from the population. So let's go to our capital city. Here you can see we have 81 trade value. It's driven by these commerce zones, and here I have a commerce megaplex. Now if we go to population, you can see we have all different jobs which are done by the high humans and also by robots. However, we have workers too. And ideally you want to use the mining robots for mining, obviously, and the farming robots for farming. And this frees up your citizens, your biological citizens, to do other tasks. Now, if you have a robot with mining drills, such as this one here, power drills, sorry, you'll see that they get an additional 15% from mining minerals. So you really want to specialize who is doing what. Now, another thing is with your planets, just because you have an open building slot does not mean you need to put a building there. The reason for this is it costs you money and it can cost you quite a bit of money. If we come to one of our other planets, this one here, for example, this generator world, here you can see I've basically filled up all the slots for generators as much as I could, and only once this was filled up did I put a few mining districts and 2 agricultural districts on this planet. But the first priority was the generator districts. Here you can see it says generator world. So technicians will output 20% more energy on generator worlds, and I would really recommend that you don't leave this to chance. So here you can see the button says colony designation picked automatically. Don't leave it like that. I would go and set it to generator world and leave it like that. Don't let the AI just pick what it should be. You should really take an active hand and choose what kind of planet you're going to have and specialize. So here you can see I've got a refinery world. We're building synthetic crystals, which we need to support the upkeep of other buildings. And so we've got a refinery world. And here you can see that the upkeep for a translucer, translucer is a profession building crystals, is minus 10%. And this is of course beneficial. That's going to cut your costs. So my advice is, just because you have the ability or the population to build buildings here doesn't mean that you should, because what's going to happen is your workers are transferred into specialists. And if you don't have enough workers, here you can see we have no unemployment. We have 3 jobs available. You really want to avoid building, for example, more alloy foundries or chemical plants or civilian industries, because this is going to take workers away and convert them into specialists. So just always make sure that you're not in a mad rush to fill up these building slots, because it's just going to cost you money. You should only do so if you have the population to support them. Now, if we come back to stations, here you can see I've got 2 trade hubs here. So for every trade hub, you will add an extra system of collection range. So instead of just being +1 system, so all these neighboring systems, by having 2, you're going to add +2 systems. Here you can see this light blue, trade protection. So you're adding systems where you can collect trade from. And that's why this trade value is so high, 255. Another thing to look at is what kind of buildings you have. So here you can see the hyperlane registrar. That's definitely something that's worthwhile looking at. Another thing is the weapons on a station. Here you can see we have a missile battery. And you can see here trade protection +5 and protection range +1. So not only does it increase the protection range, it increases the value, this trade protection, by 5 points. And you can see this here. Base protection +7. Current piracy is minus 4.49. Obviously the 7 is higher than that, so the piracy effects comes out as 0. So again, you've got to be mindful of what sort of stations you're building and what you're putting on those space stations. Now, in the beginning of the game, you're going to have to try to balance your different resources. So you've got energy credits, minerals, and food. Later on, you'll have to worry more about consumer goods and alloys, and even later on, you'll have to worry about strategic goods. So in the beginning of the game, you could be making a loss, especially the first few months. And you really are going to be in a rush to produce as many minerals as possible. One thing you can do is click here and go to the market. And what I found myself doing quite often was, when I was running out of money, is selling excess food or selling excess minerals just to keep my my economy afloat, just due to spending. Another thing you can do is, as soon as you start producing strategic goods, you can sell them for quite a lot of money. You can see here one volatile mote goes for 7.59 credits, one crystal for 8, and 1 unit of exotic gas for 7.59. So it's a good way of keeping your economy afloat. Later on, once you're producing sufficient amounts of credits and minerals and food, you'll find, or at least I find with a lot of the races, you'll find that you have a big deficit in consumer goods, and this can be very annoying, and it creates a lot of problems in your empire because the citizens start getting very upset. So what I would recommend to you is, yes, you can build more and more fabricators. However, in the meantime, I found it's totally fine to just sell some minerals and sell some food, and with that money, buy some consumer goods. This will allow you to sort of bridge the gap until you've got enough people and enough building spaces available. It's very, very tempting in the beginning of the game to just claim every system that you can see because you don't want your neighbors to get them. I especially claim systems where you have a habitable world, or where you have, for example, a gateway or a wormhole, because I'm greedy. I'm greedy. I don't want my opponents to get access to a wormhole, or later on a gateway, or strategic goods such as dark matter or crystals or whatever it may be. So you do have to balance these needs. On the one hand, you want to take over as many systems as you can and stop your opponents from getting access to them. On the other hand, you've got to be careful with empire sprawl. It can very quickly lead to discovering technologies slower, getting traditions slower, and it can be very, very negative for your whole empire if this sprawl exceeds how much administrative capacity you have. Now, as I mentioned, some of the traditions will help you with your economy. So a good one obviously is prosperity. You want to get this one here, which reduces the upkeep of buildings. This one here gives you more resources, or more output, I should say. And these ones here will help you to build faster and reduce the cost. Another one is expansion. So this one here, you can see courier network. Empire sprawl from systems and colonies is reduced by 25%. I highly recommend this one. It will cut down your sprawl, which, as I mentioned, can destroy your economy. Other good ones are reducing the costs of your ships. So this one cuts the cost of your ship by 10% of your fleet. This one as well, ship upkeep reduced by 10%. Another thing you need to avoid is building too many stations. Here you can see I've got a capacity of 14, but I've only built 12 star bases. So that can really cost you a lot of money. Once you go over these limits, here you can see I can have up to 134 naval capacity. If you start exceeding it by, let's say, more than 20%, you're going to seriously mess up your economy. The same goes for your star bases. I do, exceed it usually by about 10%, especially if I'm right about to go to war, because I know some of those ships are going to get destroyed. But I would not exceed this for a long time. Another good way to save money is if you have a fleet of transports, just disband them. If you're not at war, you don't need them, and you can usually quite quickly build up your armies. They will recruit quite quickly. Another thing to remember is that fleets cost money, and they can cost a lot of money. So I highly recommend that you park your fleet when you're not at war and the fleet is not patrolling the trade routes at your space station, and make sure you have crew quarters. So here you can see that the docked ship upkeep falls by 25% as soon as the ships are here. If the ships are anywhere else in the system or on the map, you will not get that 25% reduction in fleet costs. So especially early in the game, this can make a huge difference. The next topic is policies. So you have here economic and trade policy. I have it on mixed. Basically, this sort of tries to strike the balance between producing alloys, which you need for your ships, and producing consumer goods, which you need to keep your pops happy. So I keep it on mixed. As you can see, I didn't do this on purpose. It just happened like that. I'm making 46 consumer goods and 46 alloys. I'm really striking a balance between having enough alloys for ships and enough goods to keep my people happy. The next policy is trade. So if you choose, for example, consumer benefits, every 1 unit of trade earns you half a energy credit and 0.25 consumer goods. Or for marketplace of ideas, it will be 0.5 credits and 0.25 unity points. Or wealth creation, where it goes purely 1 trade value unit goes to 1 energy credit. So if you're running out of money, you definitely want to put it on wealth creation. You really need to strike a balance between having planets that are purely focused on creating energy and planets that are there for administrative capacity, planets that are there for creating strategic resources like crystals, and of course mining worlds and generator worlds. So you really need to look at what is available. Some planets will have many districts for generators. Others will have few. Here we only have 3. So when you colonize a planet, you really need to look at what sort of districts are available. Go to the planetary features, because you can really see the difference. So here, for example, this planet has hot springs and it has rushing waterfalls, so it's going to have a natural advantage in producing generator districts, whereas it has very few for agriculture, so you can not even bother with making food on this planet, or just stick to the generators, and once that's been maxed out you can build a couple of the other things. But I really recommend that you make planets that are highly specialized. Alright everyone, that was my guide to the economy and earning credits in Stellaris 2.7. Please leave your comments and tips below. If this video helped you, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks everyone, see you in the next video.